It had just been reported that the Snow White live action adaptation's budget had ballooned to over $500 million, which seemed insane, though we had all been talking about how Rachel Zegler's been relatively quiet. She hasn't been stirring up drama on social media, though that didn't last for long because now she's gone into an interview talking about how they've reinvented Snow White and how hard it's been for her facing off against, quote, toxic Disney fans. That's the only page in the playbook that these people use is, oh, you're toxic, you're sexist, you're racist, you're some kind of isterphobe, simply for criticizing a project. But why wouldn't we criticize it when you are straight up admitting that you guys did not respect the original material? You are crapping on the memories and the nostalgia and love people have for this character and story, and that you're basically rewriting the entirety of this story so it's not even Snow White anymore. You'd think that they would understand why people are criticizing them, but they don't. Now, of course, this is just a massive puff piece for Rachel Zegler. They clearly tried their very best to do some damage control for Disney, and they're defending her tooth and nail. But when you go into an interview and you're just calling critics toxic, it's not going to fix your image. They talk about how, of course, she's now in her princess era, but it's been a mixed bag. Her appointment as the apple-eating stepdaughter of the evil queen drew instant ire online, with many promising to boycott the film due to woke casting. She was my mom's favorite princess, she says, and when she was growing up, there weren't a lot of dark-haired princesses, and that was one that she could relate to. I have never in my life looked at a character's hair color and said, oh my gosh, I can relate to this character. That is just absolute insanity, and it's kind of narcissistic, at least in my opinion. I think that you should be looking inwards at these characters and yourself. You should be trying to relate to their bravery, their, compassion, their emotions, things that are deeper than surface level. I've never looked at a character and gone, oh my god, she's a white woman, I can relate. Or, oh, she has darker hair or lighter hair, and that's why I can or can't relate to her. It's just ridiculous in my opinion. But of course, Rachel Zegler is going to say anything that her new PR team says because they are trying their very best to damage control. They also talk about how they completely rewrote this story and all of the changes that they're making. They talk about how it fell back to another version of Snow White that was told in history, where she survived a snowstorm that occurred when she was a baby. So to the king and queen, they decided to name her Snow White to remind her of her resilience. One of the core points in our film for any young woman or young person is remembering how strong you actually are, and that most certainly is not the original version of Snow White, that's for certain. But it doesn't really seem like they care about following the source material because the romance is being almost completely removed from this, and we know that Zegler has said, oh, the prince was originally really creepy, so that's why we lessened his role. This was from August 2023. Rachel Zegler says the prince stalked Snow White in the original film and revealed the live-action version is, quote, really not about the love story at all, and she had said that she's bringing a, quote, modern edge to Disney's live-action Snow White. She's not going to be saved by the prince or dreaming about true love, which are extremely important, characteristics of Disney's Snow White. And that shouldn't be a problem. It's okay to have a love story. It's okay to have a male character who at the end of the day is able to help and support and save the woman that they love. It's like the Little Mermaid live action adaptation. I was so disappointed at the end because Ariel does end up being the one who kills Ursula, but it used to be Prince Eric, and it just showed how much he loved her and how he wanted to try to save her and how much he cared about her, but you're taking away the male character's agency in order to prop up the female, and it's always disappointing for me to see a male character be denigrated in order to, put the female on the pedestal and say, oh my god, she is the most important one. Why can't all of these characters be important regardless of their gender. It's just so sad to me to see this happening time and time again. And it doesn't really seem like Rachel Zegler cares, because she just wants to go around talking about how she's faced off against, quote, toxic Disney fans and how she's watched women get torn down her whole life, even though there are so many important women in history. There are so many important women in entertainment, whether it's movies, TV shows, or video games, but she wants to ignore all of those in order to prop up her existence. So this is just a very disappointing situation. They're not particularly surprising. This isn't the first time she's gone into an interview and said very controversial things, and I'm sure it's not going to be the last, but she is a PR nightmare for Disney. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, give it a like, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.